good morning in 2 minutes.
Morning. How you doing?
Well, 3 of the 4 are married.
That's good. Hey, good morning.
Steve. Steve. Or David. David.
Good morning and welcome to the May 4th, 2022 Walton County Technical Review Committee meeting. Thank everyone for coming and expressing your interest in Walton County government this morning. This is an administrative meeting of the Walton County staff. We appreciate your attendance. I appreciate your professionalism. We're all friends here by now. Most of us are also neighbors. It's our policy to respect one another. We may have differences of opinion. We appreciate that those differences be respected and expressed in a very respectful way. And we do have a bailiff here to help us with that if we need. So appreciate your attention to that matter. Do we have any announcements this morning? Seeing none, we'll move right to the minutes. We have a request to approve the April 6, 2022 TRC minutes. Do we have any adjustments to those minutes? Seeing none, could we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, the minutes are approved for April 6. That moves us to project reviews. We have a number of continuances here at the beginning of the agenda, and we'll take those individually. The first of those is the watercolor PUD amendment for beach ADA access. We have a request to continue that to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8 location. Could we have a motion of the dais?
Motion.
We have a motion. Can we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Item number 3, the Destin Land Connection. We have a request to continue to the May 18th meeting also. Could we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue this item to the May 18th, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th TRC meeting. Item number 4, the Preserve at Point Washington minor development. We have a request to continue this item to May 18. Could we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue this item to the May 18th, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. That moves us to item number 5, the Bishop Landing PUD. We have a similar request to continue this item to the May 18th, 2022 TRC, pending an opinion on the Bishop Tolbert Road easement. Can we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. That moves us to number 6, the Seascape Resort DRI amendment. We have a request to continue this item to June 1st, 2022 TRC. Could we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the June 1st, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. And that moves us to item number 7, the Retreat at the Bay PUD and major development. We have a request to continue this item to the June 1st TRC meeting. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Hearing none, this item is continued to the June 1st, 2022 TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. And that moves us to item number 8, cottages at 393 South Townhomes. This is a minor development reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you can update us for.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. This is a minor development order application submitted by North Star Engineering requesting approval to develop 6 townhomes and associated infrastructure on .64 acres with the future land use of mixed use and residential and a zoning of small neighborhood and neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 4 on the southwest side of County Road 393 South. This item was continued from our April 20th TRC meeting. It's the final phase of the cottages at 393 South. And since the staff report was done, we have resolved all the outstanding issues, so it's ready to move forward.
Okay, thanks, sir. Any comments from the applicant?
Good morning, Philip Santor, North Star Engineering. Just appreciate the opportunity that you allow us to come before you this morning. Thank you.
We'll take just a moment to invite any technical question or comment from any member of the audience. Anyone here wishing to ask a question about this particular development this morning? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of this item and we'll entertain a motion. We have a recommended motion, Tim?
Also, could I please enter the staff report into the record? Yes, recommend approval of the project and move it forward to the development order.
We have a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Likewise. Hearing none, this item is approved to move forward to development order. That moves us to agenda number 9, the K-Bar Small Scale Amendment. This is a land use amendment rezoning application submitted by Interlight. Bob Aranti. Bob, if you can introduce it for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As you said, this is FLU 22-000004. It's a future land use amendment with rezoning application submitted by Interlight Engineering Corporation on behalf of Cleveland Engineering Services, requesting to change the future land use from rural residential to industrial and extractive uses and change the current zoning from rural residential to heavy industrial on 39.12 plus or minus acres. The property is located in District 3 and the parcel numbers included in the staff report. Mr. Chair, a couple of things before we move through administrative. The applicant is changing their zoning request to go instead of heavy industrial to extractive uses. And in the surrounding area, the parcels basically surrounding that property have an approved conceptual approval for residential subdivision. I just wanted to point that out. There are no outstanding comments, and it meets the comprehensive plan's minimum requirements. And I'd like to enter the staff report into record, please.
So entered. Thank you, Bob.
Mr. Chair, would you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the...
On the application history, didn't they recently have a community meeting?
Yes, sir. They did have a community meeting last week. There were 8 people, including myself, in attendance. And Mr. Smith answered any questions the public may have. And there are public members here from the meeting that I believe are going to speak.
Thank you, sir. Let's just add the community meeting date to the application history.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And I think we can hear from the applicant. Unless you have further comments.
No, sir.
We'll enter the staff report into the record.
Good morning, committee. I'm David Smith with Interlight Engineering. And as Bob presented, we are before you for a future land use amendment and rezoning application.
And we are proposing to change from rural residential, and currently in the application where it's for the zoning, it was heavy industrial. And as Bob presented, we had a community meeting last Thursday where we invited members of the community. We obviously we want to meet them and have them meet us and go through any questions and concerns. And there were some good comments that were raised. And one of the comments was, well, if you're changed to heavy industrial and it's not used for extractive uses, then it could obviously be used for any heavy industrial use in the future. And that's true. So that's the reason that we want to change to the extractive uses zoning classification, because the intent is to have a borrow pit in this area. And the main thing when the owners are looking at this property, 40 acres here, located in Mossy Head, notice the proximity to the existing pit from a compatibility perspective. And that's the main reason that they were looking at this property. It's just north of the pit. Now, this is not going to be an expansion of the existing borrow pit into this property. This would be a standalone pit, and my clients are the owner of Panhandle Precast. So the goal would be to have the sand that they use in their precast structures. This would not be a borrow pit where it's sold to other contractors. They would use it strictly for their business as their intent. So another thing I'll point out with the request for extractive uses, and I know the committee knows this, but I want to say it for the public, is new mining operations shall prevent off-site erosion of soils and shall maintain a 50-foot buffer along the perimeter. And in our meeting, we do want to ensure the surrounding residents that we do have, a buffer from the property specifically along the north and the west as well. So that's a general overview, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Well, thank you very much for going ahead and having community meeting and meeting with the neighbors.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime we're expanding a mining operation or creating a new mining operation, it gets lots of folks interested, as they should be.
And I agree.
And I think we'll take a few moments, unless you have additional information, to hear from our neighbors.
Can I make one more point from the community meeting? Just another good comment was the truck traffic along Walters Road is we are coordinating with this borrow pit to the south for access to go through with an easement. So then that would take the truck traffic directly out to 90 is one thing we're looking at, because the condition of this roadway, obviously we don't want it to deteriorate it further. It is slightly paved in this area, but that was one thing that was discussed, and we're certainly talking to the owner here to see if we can go through that existing operation is one other thing I wanted to point out from the community meeting as well.
Well, certainly, given the proximity of at least the conceptually approved residential nearby, we're very interested in that. And I think that would be a significant compatibility measure if the truck traffic was internalized to an existing mining operation. I think that would be a significant factor for the neighborhood. But let's take a moment, and I know there's some folks here that would like to speak.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll invite any technical questions or technical comments or comprehensive plan related at this time. Anybody wishing to speak? Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Members of the committee, Counselor, good to see all of you. My name is Larry Jones. I'm here today representing my interest as a member of the Mossy Head community. But more importantly, I'm here today representing the interest of Benesi Development, who has a substantial presence in that area and has invested millions of dollars in the local area. And they're quite concerned about the impact that this change would have on their proposed developments and the plans they have moving forward to develop their properties. Simply put, ladies and gentlemen, this is a bad idea. It's a bad idea for the community, it's a bad idea for the neighbors, and it's a bad idea for the potential of developing the surrounding area into a product that would make the people of Mossy Head proud. And that's what we're working toward in that area. Currently, there is a 200-acre hole in the ground. If you're familiar with that site that's south of the subject parcel, you'll realize that that's all it is, and that's probably all it ever will be. It's been mined for many years, and it's been left in a condition that appears that that's where it's going to be for the time being or the time to come. It has little, if any, ability to be reclaimed, the 200-acre site, simply because there's no material left. They've mined right up to the property lines, and the property line that's adjacent to the southern border of the subject parcel has about a 100-foot drop from the natural elevation to where the site has been mined. And we think you'll find that around the perimeter of that whole site. And there's no reason to believe that if mining's allowed on the subject property, that it will not be left in a similar condition over a period of time, simply because from our understanding of what the use of the sand will be, they've got to get to the water table in order to wash the sand to utilize it in the way they want to do it. Therefore, it takes a big hole to start with. And as that hole expands, we would anticipate it to be left in a similar situation. Access to the property is questionable at best. The existing access is a degraded road that will not support any heavy traffic that would come from an extractive use or an industrial use. And the applicant said at the meeting in Mossy Head last week that any damage to the road they would be responsible for and would repair. I appreciate that comment. However, my experience has been that doesn't happen very often, that it's left to the county to make those repairs at the taxpayer expense. And we would anticipate that moving forward here. Further, there are about 20 single-family dwellings upon the path that accesses this site. That includes elderly, senior citizens. It includes small children and families, none of which are conducive to heavy industrial type traffic that would be utilizing that path. Mr. Benezzi owns the two parcels at the end of Rio Ranchero Road, which would be the beginning of that access point abutting Highway 90. Changing this land use would change the character of those properties simply because of, instead of automobile traffic, now we're going to have a substantial amount of heavy traffic moving in and out of that area. Mr. Smith discussed the potential of using access through the existing mine, and I suppose that is possible, but it's not in place yet. And if you're familiar with that mine, you know the floor of it is wet, there's a lot of water, and it would take I think some pretty extraordinary engineering feats, which I know Mr. Smith and some of his colleagues are capable of, to put a roadway through there, simply because you do have substantial changes in elevation to make those. Here's one that I think is vitally important in what was said. My good friend Mr. Smith said that it's compatible, this change is compatible because of the abutting use to the south, which is already an existing mine. Okay, that makes some sense. But if we're going to use that logic, let's use it to the fullest extent and realize that only 25% of this property abuts the existing mine and 75% of it abuts residential use. So if we're going to use that logic, Mossy Head logic says 75% beats 25% any day. So the appropriate use would be to leave it as it is in a residential use, as opposed to changing it to a heavy industrial use. Benezzi Development owns over 1,400 acres in the immediate vicinity, and I only have one copy of a map, but I'll be glad to share that with you, if I may. And you'll see that all of the red is the property that Mr. Benezzi owns. Share that with you. And part of what Mr. Benezzi has developed is the very successful Blackstone Golf Course. And that's simply an example of what he would love to do with the remainder of this property. There is a current PUD, a conceptual PUD that's been approved for the property. It wouldn't take much to put that into action, and based on the recent economy, we're coming out of COVID, so the timing is right to move forward with those plans, and I think that you'll be seeing those in your office in the near future. All of these properties were purchased with the knowledge and understanding that the subject parcel was a residential property, with all expectations that it would remain as such. Changing that property would degrade the value of the property that Mr. Benesi owns and Benesi Development plans to develop, which is the entire east boundary and the entire north boundary of the 40-acre parcel that is under consideration today. As you're well aware, when we're talking about a land use change, whether we're going to heavy industrial or extractive use, we know what the end use, what these individuals plan for the end use to be. The applicant has no right or expectation that that change would be granted. It's simply a request of this board, of the Planning Commission, and eventually the Board of County Commissioners to help us do something that makes this land more valuable to them, regardless of what it does to the adjoining property owners, which we believe it will diminish the value of those properties, diminish the value and the potential of the development of those properties. We think you'll find that the other neighboring owners are opposed to this. We won't speak with it for them, but in our conversation, they've indicated that they're not in favor of this change at all. We trust that as you review this project, you'll see the potential that it has to be degrading to the surrounding properties, and that you will agree with us that it is a bad idea to move this forward with a recommendation of approval. Therefore, we would recommend that any recommendation to move forward would be to deny this request. And subject to your questions, that's all we have.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone? Do we have anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, there is absolutely nothing I can add to what Mr. Jones just said. He covered it all. I want to let the committee know that as a resident of Mossy Head also, I think it would be a great injustice to that community to change that land use. There's a lot of great things happening in Mossy Head. The potential with the development of Mr. Benesi's plan out there would change the landscape of our area for a long time to the positive. Mr. Smith has done a good job. I appreciate him coming out to Mossy Head and talking to the residents. But he said there were 8 people there. But there's only 3 adjoining property owners to this property. So 8 was a significant number when you only have letters going out to 3. I understand what they want to do. We don't need an additional 40 acres of a hole in the ground that's never going to be filled. What's out there now is out there. That's plenty. We don't need any more. Let us develop Mossy Head into something that Walton County can be proud of, and that we can all, enjoy going forward instead of just another big hole. But I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, sir. Do we have anyone else that wishes to make a comment?
I was told I have to give my name for the record. It's Teddy Stewart.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Morano, Morano. I was really very delighted to see Larry Jones here today. And I also was very delighted to hear what he had to say, as well as Teddy Stewart. South Walton Community Council really focuses on South Walton, but we're still one Walton. And personally, I'm just thrilled to see this effort to say no to rezoning. And my question, Mr. Carpenter, is this is a very technical meeting. Does that mean the next step would be at the Planning Commission to make recommendations?
Yeah.
So you would have, so Okay, so to the people, and I know Mr. Smith, Teddy Stewart, and Larry Jones knows this, the next step is the Planning Commission, which they'll say exactly the same thing. And unfortunately, the Planning Commission loves to rezone, but that doesn't matter. The bottom line is the BCC, and it's in District 3. So obviously, a conversation with Commissioner Barker would be very effective as well. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else have any comments about this particular application?
David Smith again with Interlight Engineering, and I want to thank Mr. Jones and Mr. Stewart, Ms. Moreno for their comments. And yeah, at the meeting, as it was presented, there were 8 participants, which 4 of the participants represent one of the owners, or here to represent one of the owners. The other 2 participants were property owners that lived just north of the property. And then the final 2 participants, that was Mr. Baranti, and then the owner, my client, was there as well. So I did just want to clarify that. And then, I thought Mr. Jones made several great comments. I did want to touch on the compatibility aspect, which is a valid point, there's always different perspectives with this type of change and this type of use. And I respect that because, I respect what people's opinions are and the thoughts. And, when I go to these community meetings, if I lived there, I would want to know what's going on next to me too. That's what I tell people. And that's the truth. So I respect their comments. But from a compatibility perspective, I think we can achieve the adequate buffers to the north and specifically to the west, which to the west is a different owner, Mr. Steve Smith. And I've been in communication with him as well. He was there as well. I want to point out he was also there. So, but I have been in communication with him. And, I think the enhanced buffering where we can help the compatibility perspective and the concern, we can get there on the buffers by going with larger buffers specifically to the west and to the north, and then to the east is Walters Road, and then, as I presented, the Bar Pits obviously to the south. So I think we can come up with some measures, specifically as we're going through a development order process to achieve and to assist with that compatibility.
Well, I do have some concerns about compatibility. The fact that we've had a large PUD approved here conceptually for a number of years, the first portion of which has actually been constructed, and given the way development is moving in Mossy Head, I fully expect that the rest of that PUD will get built out at some point in the near future. We continue to add jobs at the Mossy Head Industrial Park, which provides a need for new housing. Not that we don't have a need for new housing given the number of people that are moving to our county every day. I have some concerns about whether or not this land use change would be the highest and best use of that particular land. I do have some significant concerns about a borrow pit being next to residential development. We already have some houses out there. We have a number of compatibility measures that are built into the Land Development Code related to mining operations. And I think each one of those mining operations should stand on its own and provide additional compatibility beyond what the code requires. That would be location specific. But given where this is, I'm not convinced this is the best idea. And here's my recommendation. That we continue this for a couple of weeks and give you the opportunity to come back and show us what those compatibility measures might be, so that if this does move to the next step at the Planning Commission, they've got something to consider, which might give you a more fair opportunity to present your case.
We are open to that. I want to just touch on a few things while I'm here, but the 3 speakers, I think they'll agree with me when I say we're not going to come up here and force anything through. I know, so they've seen, and I have a relationship with all 3 of them, so I've known them a long time, not Ms. Moreno as long as I've known the other 2 guys, but we're going to do what's right. So I would like to just make a few points, though, if I can. So this is our property. Mr. Smith's property. He and his sister own these 2. and this is the property to the north that's owned by Mr. Benezi, and this one's also owned by Mr. Benezi. Along our northern boundary is an access easement for these properties. So I do want to point out, you're not going to have residential lots that abut our northern boundary. There's going to be an access road, which is the access for these properties here. So I know I haven't seen their latest development plan for the Blackstone development, but I know you'll have that access roadway. So I do want to make that point along our northern boundary, but we're absolutely committed to do our part to go above and beyond from a compatibility perspective along our northern boundary, even though there will be a road on the adjoining property that serves this development. So I do want to make that point, that you will not have residential lots sitting on that northern boundary.
Well, I understand that there may be an access road in between the boundary line and the actual development. And that does provide some amount of compatibility buffering. But that's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
What are we actually gonna propose to make this compatible? And I think the sooner we hear what those ideas are, the better the folks that are asked to make a recommendation on this will be prepared to do so.
We are diligently working, for access through this pit. So I would like to have that resolved as well, because I did present at the community meeting that if we utilize this roadway, we absolutely are responsible for any repairs. But our goal would be, let's not even utilize the roadway, and I think the previous speakers would support that as well. So,
Well, given where we do have mining operations, and those mining operations are traversed by, dump trucks, at the earliest hours, driving as fast as they can because they get paid by the load. That is a concern, given the condition of this particular roadway and that new traffic that would be on that roadway that would not be residential traffic. So that absolutely is a concern. If there were an alternate access point that would not take it through those existing residential roadways or other access easements, that would be significant, I would think, for both the Planning Commission and the BCC to consider.
I would agree.
Should they have that opportunity.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Sure. Any more comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Based on Larry Jones, again for the record, based on your comments of holding off for a couple of weeks, would it be possible to hold off till the first meeting in June and ask, and I know you can't require the applicant to hold another community meeting prior to that, so that we can be aware of what changes are going to be proposed at the next meeting that were not proposed at this meeting?
Would you
David Smith, for the record. As far as the changes Mr. Jones referring to, that would be the change to extractive uses, or that would be the additional compatibility, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Give us the opportunity to examine exactly what that looks like and what
Yeah, I think we're okay with that.
when would you like to come back?
I would like to, well, for the community meeting, can I coordinate that through you, Larry? And then that way we don't have to do the mailings.
Right.
And then, I'm doing the math in my head, Mac, as far as the next TRC, is that in 2 weeks?
That would be
18th.
There's one June the 1st.
June 1st would be the following one after that.
Because I think we could have a community meeting, maybe if it works with everyone's schedule, maybe as early as next week. And then possibly be on the 1 in 2 weeks, the TRC meeting. If not, if we need to take more time, then, and
We would be more comfortable if you would go to the first meeting. But if 18th works for you, then we'll make that work.
can I commit to do this? Can we stay on the 18th, and I'll coordinate everyone's schedule, and then I will be here to continue it to the June 1st meeting if we can't make it happen. I will commit to do that so that I'm not rushing anything. But if we can stay on the 18th and we can make it happen realistically for all participants, then we would prefer to do that.
Okay, how do y'all feel about that?
This is not my project, Mr. Smith, but I would be interested in the access to that property. Oh, Mr. Jones made comment about access. I'd like to see that, even though it's not my project to sign off on, but.
Well, why don't we do this? Let's continue to the 18th, give you an opportunity to meet with the neighbors and discuss the additional compatibility measures. And if we have time, we can come back on the 18th. If we don't have time, we can come back and continue to the 1st.
We agree with that.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll entertain a motion to continue this item to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Do we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this item to May 18th at 8:30 a.m. in this location. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. And if you could, make sure we update the sign. Thanks, sir. That will move us to item number 10, the Renfro minor DO. It's a minor development review by Bob Baranti. Bob, if you could introduce it for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. As you said, this is the Renfro minor development order. It's project number MIN 22-000021. It's a minor development application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Louis Renfro, requesting to reduce the existing golf course and utility and access drainage easement on 0.82 plus or minus acres with future land use of mixed use in the zoning district of Coastal Center. The property is located in District 4, and it's at 3326 Club Drive, Miramar Beach, Florida, and the parcel number is found in your staff report. Mr. Chair, this is not to increase density. There are outstanding comments that need to be addressed. I received and supplied to the agent yesterday Mr. Graham's comment. His biggest comment is he suggesting that we receive a official letter from the golf course saying they accept this, just for the record. So going forward, there will be no issue whether the golf course is okay with this. It meets the comprehensive land use plan, minimum requirements. Can I enter the staff report in the record, please?
So entered. I have a number of questions about this. This is at Sandestin?
Correct.
And this is part of the open space golf course easement?
No.
I can respond. But we're asking to reduce the.
Would you like me to, can I enter the staff
turn it over
report
to
in the
the-
record and turn it over to the agent?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. To your question, if you recall in the NOPC, there were certain golf course easements that were adopted as being part of open space, and there were some that were rejected by the BCC. What I can do is include with our mapping system this particular golf course easement where it is not claimed as open space. We proposed at one time for all of the golf course easements to be open space. And like I say, only certain ones were agreed upon by the BCC. This would be a reduction to that easement, and we have spoken with the SOA. Actually, the owner has had conversations with the SOA, and we feel confident we can get an email or letter stating that the SOA does not object. But we understand Greg Graham's comment. It's a private easement. The easement is controlled by SOA, and they absolutely would have to agree to reduce it.
But we don't have that letter yet?
We have not obtained it. It was the owner's understanding that if we replatted it, an official signed agreement would not be required, which is true. But consent from the SOA, we understand completely. The county does not get involved in private easements, but as part of a development order, the county kind of does get in that process. So we understand what Mr. Graham's asking for, and it's perfectly justified.
Well, given this lot is covered by some level of HOA out there, we absolutely need their concurrence.
Understood. And we've started talking with the SOA about that, and I'll be in touch with Tom Cooper for that particular letter.
I'm going to ask the obvious question, why do we need to do this?
I don't know the specifics, actually, but I believe there are either improvements in the easement already, or there are improvements intended that he'd like to put in the easement.
That seems like something we might need to know why we're doing it.
All right.
Maybe part of this is because we have a swimming pool in there?
I believe that is, like I say, there are improvements, if I recall correctly, that are currently in the easement, and that was part of the request, part of the reason for the request.
Well, without anything from the other parties to the easement, that would allow them to, or I just don't think we can move this forward without that.
I understand. What we'd request is, subject to receiving that letter from the SOA, allowing it to move forward subject to that letter.
You have a thought? How long do you think it will take to get this letter?
We should be able to get it this week. Great. All right. I know we got the comment from Greg Graham yesterday, and we started working on it, so it sounds like he has already received it.
Well, subject to receiving that letter, I don't know that I have any other concerns. Providing the SOA or the appropriate homeowners association concurs with the request.
All right, understood. That's, and we feel the same way. I mean, we obviously would not want to proceed forward with it without that either.
Given the sensitivity of these easements out there and the consequences, let's make sure we got that letter. I don't see any reason to, I don't think we have any other TRC issues other than making sure that that's consistent with the wishes of those associations.
All right, and I think he's coming back in with that. Sorry to delay the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
This is the letter signed yesterday by Tom Cooper. That is our only current copy. So.
It looks like they concur. If you can make sure that gets uploaded to the portal.
We'll do so.
Thanks, Term. Just for the record, the letter indicates that the SOA has no objection to the proposed reduction in the easement. And I think that was our outstanding concern. So we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal and addressing the outstanding comments and move it to the development order stage.
We have a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
Motion to approve as stated by Mr. Baranti.
Thank you. We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is approved to move forward to the development order stage. That moves us to, I think, companion item, Club Drive Lot 3326 replat. Well, I guess this application is now consistent with the previously approved DO that we just approved moments ago. Bob, if you want to introduce it for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This project has been in the record for quite a while. It's been continued until we get the development in order. And I was just making this a condition that the DO be approved so we can include it with the BCC. This is, as you said, the associated replat application. And it's submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of Lewis and Jennifer Renfro, requesting replat lot 3226 of Club Drive Phase 4 on 8.084 acres. And it is a mixed use and zoning district of Coastal Center. The property is located in District 4. It is on 3326 Club Drive. And this project was continued from the April 6, 2022 TRC meeting pending the submittal of the DO request. There are some outstanding comments, nothing major that can't be addressed. It meets the minimum standard of the comprehensive plan and land use code. And I would like to enter the staff report in the record, please.
Thank you, Bob. So entered.
Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the agent?
I don't see anything on here that's worthy of holding this up. Minor correction. Am I reading that right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
We'll enter that into the record.
It just, we won't send the plat to the BCC until I got the signed DO to include it with the BCC. As you know, they would like to see the DO with the plat.
And we just approved the DO
Well, once they,
application.
yes, sir, once they resubmit to get the comments addressed. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Bob,
I'll turn it over to the agent if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Very briefly, Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates, we understand the required responses to the comments, and we will get those done expeditiously.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
We have recommended motion, we have motion at the dais.
Motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Additionally approve this subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments and move it forward to the BCC with advertising. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Likewise. Hearing none, this item's conditionally approved to move forward to the BCC. That moves us to item number 12, the Brewington minor development, also reviewed by Bob Rocky. If you could introduce it for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a request for a development order, MIN 22-000022. This is a minor development application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of David Brewington, requesting to shift the lot line on 1.11 plus or minus acres. The future land use is residential, and the zoning district is residential preservation. The property is in District 4 and is located on 125 Hillcrest Road, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. And the parcel number is in your staff report. Mr. Chair, there is no increase in density. It's just to fix the line between Lot 7 and Lot 8 to fix the encroachment of the driveway. The comments for the DO are limited, and I think they could easily be addressed by the applicant. May I enter the staff report in the record?
Yes, with one correction.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So entered with that correction.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Any comments or questions for Bob? Simple lot line adjustment to resolve an encroachment. Thank you, Bob. We'll hear briefly from the applicant. You have any questions about this one?
We've read the comments and realized that we have some environmental comments to respond to.
And this is also the precursor for the next item. I don't see any reason we can't conditionally approve this item to move forward, subject to satisfaction of those comments. They're very minor. And we'll entertain a recommended motion to do just that. Conditionally approved to move forward to development order, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. If someone would like to make that motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to conditionally approve this minor development, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Likewise. Hearing none, this item can move forward to development order, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. That moves us to the companion project, the replat of Dune Allen Second Edition, lots 7 and 8. Bob, if you can introduce that one.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is plat application, as you stated, for Dune Allen Second Edition, Lot 7 and 8. It was also contingent on the approval of the development order, which will be obtained once all the outstanding comments are addressed and the DO is issued. This is also submitted by Emerald Coast Associates on behalf of DLB Holdings, LLC, requesting to replat Lot 7 and 8 on 1.10 plus or minus acres, future land use of residential, and the zoning district of residential preservation, and the property is located in District 4. Mr. Chair, this project, as you see in the executive summary, has been continued a number of dates, waiting for the application for its companion project. As you know, we just worked on the companion project, so that would be a major move to move this forward. All the comments are minor, and I think they can be addressed. The agent is here to make any recommendations you may have. Comments?
Here's my recommendation. Change page 1 of 7 in the staff report. It's the wrong project. That page.
Oh, yeah, yes, Mr. Chair, the map, I see. We'll be done.
Very good. I don't see that. It's not a new lot. Two lot. This lot getting small. Yes, we can substitute that page.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll do that right after the meeting. I apologize.
Then in the staff report. We do have a few other outstanding items on this.
I think they can be addressed by the applicant. The applicant is here if you would like to speak to him.
Sure. Thank you, Bob. We'll hear from the applicant.
I have read through the comments and believe that we can respond to them quickly. They're relatively minor in scope. Looks like 3 reviewers had comments that we need to respond to.
They all look like items that you can successfully respond to.
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Hall has a question.
Sure.
Dean, I'm looking at the comments from our environmental reviewer. And I'm looking at comment number 3, and I just wanted to make sure we all understood it. It says that the original platted configuration of the lots provides sufficient area outside the 100-foot coastal dune lake protection zone buffer. It appears that the proposed plat has lot 2, the newly configured lot, entirely within the 100-foot coastal dune lake protection zone buffer. She's asked you to put the 100 and 300-foot buffer onto the plat. Am I reading that correctly, or Is her comment accurate?
I would have to see where that buffer falls. Lot 2 is separated by Allen Loop Drive, a 66-foot right-of-way.
Yep.
I don't see how it would lie entirely with within a 100-foot buffer, but we'll lay that line on there. Obviously, if it is, then there's a problem with Lot 2. Yeah.
That's my concern, and she raised it in her staff report. And I don't think that just putting the line on the replat solves the problem.
No, if it is indeed the 100-foot line and it's entirely within it, then
You'd be
there's a
creating an
problem.
unbuildable lot.
Correct.
I'm not sure we want to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. It may lie entirely within the 300-foot, which, we could demonstrate what their impervious area, resulting impervious areas could be.
Right.
Right.
So
But we'll
just
certainly take a look at that.
enter for the record, and let's see if that's not a substantive comment.
Will do. It's noted.
And it's also noted in the previous conditional approval. You've got to address that.
Correct. I saw that as well.
Any other questions on any of the comments?
No, sir, not from ECA.
Anyone else have a question? And we'll entertain a recommended motion.
Mr. Chair, make recommendation for conditional approval pending successful resubmittal and addressing all the comments.
Thanks, sir. Recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any opposed likewise? I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward, accept outstanding comments. And that will move us to number 14. The US 331 Apartments, major development reviewed by Stephen Shawn. Stephen is out today. Tim will be standing in for him. Tim, if you could briefly introduce it for us.
Yes, thank you. This is a major development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering requesting to develop 260 multifamily units on 29 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use in Town Center 1. Property is located in District 5 on the west side of 331 South. There are a number of outstanding planning comments. In addition, there's outstanding public works, floodplain, environmental, and GIS. At the time of the staff report, there had not been any comments received from fire. With that, I would like to enter the staff report into the record and turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Tim. And so entered. We can hear from the applicant.
Christy Jones with Jenkins Engineering, and yesterday we actually had the opportunity to respond to the comments, and we resubmitted everything with the exception of the base flood analysis, which we anticipate completing by the end of this week. With that, we don't have any concerns with respect to it. The property, the parcel development itself does not lie within the flood zone, so we don't anticipate any concerns with finishing the report. Scott's just been out this week, so unfortunately.
This development is going to require a PUD overlay ordinance in order to transfer the density out of the VMU portion. Unless we can come up with a density bonus to.
Which we did. We provided, as part of this resubmittal, we did a density bonus letter to offset it. It included additional 20% for the stormwater. We did additional buffer, wetland buffer, and we did the, there's a pathway through the 8 acres to the north, which would be passive recreation, and it has, we added benches and plaques and things of that. You get a 0.2 credit for that particular area, so it ended up with 9.2 units per acre, which we were under that value when we submitted yesterday.
Okay. Scott and Jamie are out, and so is Stephen.
They all COVID, yeah. Jamie, or Scott comes back Thursday, and Jamie just out today, so.
Did we resize the buildings in the resubmittal?
We did, in fact, yes. We went to the same sizes of the other buildings, went down to 2 buildings instead of 1 large one.
Do you believe you've addressed all the outstanding comments from the previous review?
Yes, we have, with the exception again of that base flood elevation analysis, which again, we will conduct, Scott and I will do it Thursday and submit by Friday as our expected time. And again, we don't foresee any concerns with that because it doesn't lie within the flood zone.
Okay, we'll take just a moment to invite any technical questions from anyone.
Okay, thank you.
We may have some more questions for you in just a moment. Thank you. This is a major development. It's going to get public hearings before the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. We'll take just a moment to invite any technical compliance questions from any member of our audience today. Anyone here wishing to make a comment or ask a question? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Morano.
Barbara Morano. Stephen did an excellent report. I'm glad those comments were addressed, but as you know, they weren't uploaded, or the public didn't see them. There were 15 comments, and then there were 10 on the South Walton Newtown Master Plan. So I think that would be very valuable to see that. Mr. Brown mentioned there's no public works, GIS, flood plan, fire, engineering. I didn't know if there was a traffic report.
No, ma'am, that's not correct.
What?
Fire comments were outstanding at the time.
Okay, so
They've been uploaded.
everything's been uploaded, okay. There was a mention about affordable housing. It was suggested, if that were to play out, what would that look like, and how would that, it was mentioned in one of the staff comments.
It was a suggestion to add some. There's not a requirement to in this particular zoning district.
No, and I understand that, but if the applicant wanted to do that, would they have to rezone it?
No,
They would just say, I want 10% or 20%?
I'm going to do it.
I'm sorry?
I'd say I'm going to do it. They don't get anything extra for it.
Right, right. There's no density bonus, is what you're saying? No, okay, so that was a suggestion. All right, and I look forward to seeing the comments. All right, thank you.
Did you have any specific technical questions?
Well, small was mentioned, and Jenkins Engineering said they redid it. Like I said, there were 15 comments and 10 on the South Walton Newtown Master Plan. So if they answered it, all well and good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else here wishing to make a comment or ask a question about this particular application? If Stephen were here, I'd ask a particular question regarding the proposed schedule for this item.
He didn't give a date, but he did suggest that this item be continued because the resubmittal just came in yesterday. With him out, I would suggest the June 1st meeting to give him plenty of time to review the resubmittal. And they said they may have another resubmittal on Friday? So that would be my suggestion.
The next review step would be Planning Commission after it's released from TRC. And the earliest that could go would be June 9th. And in order to hit June 9th, we got to advertise on June 2nd and, June 1st and June 25th. In the interest of moving these projects along, I'm going to recommend we continue this to May 18, to give us an opportunity to digest the resubmittal, and see if we have adequately addressed all of the comments. That will still allow the project to be advertised for the June 9th Planning Commission meeting and stay on its development timeline. But given the large number of comments, so although we do have the agent's assertion that they believe they've addressed all of those outstanding comments, we do need some time to review those. And being consistent with the way we've treated large developments with large number of outstanding comments, I think we need to continue this for 2 weeks. That will not delay the timeline for the overall review schedule, and it will help ensure that all these comments are adequately addressed. That acceptable to the applicant? Well, I think just to be consistent with all of our other applications, that's probably what we need to do. However, this will not delay the overall development timeline if we moved it forward today or if we continued it to the very next meeting. But I think that will give us an adequate opportunity to review that and digest the resubmittal that you've indicated has been made. So thank you very much. I will entertain a motion to continue this item until the May 18 TRC.
Motion to continue.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. This will move us to number 15. The Encore Developer Land Use Restriction Agreement. This is a request to combine this particular application with the next application, the actual major development application. Because we originally submitted this under the development agreement under separate application. I think this one is Stevens also.
Yes, that's my understanding, is that we want to roll what was the developer's agreement into the development order and do away with that developer's agreement. It'll be in the DO.
And I'm fine with that. That's consistent with what we're doing on these other ones. And that's something we can actually do at staff level. And doesn't require TRC. That's a director determination. So we will just do this. And we'll remove this item from the agenda. And that will move us to item number 16, the actual development project, the major development. Also reviewed by Stephen. Thank you for standing in for him, Tim.
Yes.
That one for us.
Thank you. This is a major development application submitted by McNeil Carroll Engineering, requesting to develop 258 apartments with 20% income restricted units, amenity area, and infrastructure on 22.76 acres with the future land use of commercial and the zoning of general commercial. Property is located in District 1 off of Ramsey Branch Road. Number of planning comments, Public Works, Environmental and GIS, and at the time of the staff report, we had not received, or Stephen had not received any comments from fire or engineering. With that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning.
Good morning. Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway. We're the engineer of record. We did go several months ago, get the conditional use that was approved. Then we made the formal application back in March, hoping it could be on the April TRC. Then we found out about the developers agreement, so that's why it's been delayed a month, but it's still been in for 2 months and we still do not have those comments, so we're kind of stuck. Planning comments, those are all very straightforward. We've got those ready to submit, but until we get engineering comments and fire comments, for mercy.
Yeah, those are two big ones.
Yes, sir.
I note that there is a deed overlap question that's showing up on page 3 of the staff report.
Yes, sir. We've had the surveyor go back out. He's met with the county surveyor. We've got that, we think, fixed. So we'll be adjusting the property lines. There was a little bit of a skew in them, and they've got that fixed.
Okay.
I don't know how to get engineering comments.
Well, we're in the process of transitioning from one contract reviewer to another. This one very well may be one that we get Public Works to review for us. I mean, without engineering comments, we can't move it forward. Let me suggest we continue this for 2 weeks. Catch up those sets of comments. I mean, should we be able to meet all of those comments? Well, you're not going to have them. Let's see what we can do to get comments before the next meeting, to give you an opportunity to address those. The very earliest opportunity for the next step in this application would be the June Planning Commission meeting.
Due to the 2-month delay that we've had on receiving comments, would we be able to maybe catch up a little bit on the planning side? Planning board?
I suggest that wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah. Well, no.
I haven't seen the alternative to the development agreement on the affordable housing component, and that's going to be important.
That's not been submitted?
Not that I've seen.
That was item 15. I thought that was already submitted.
Request is noted. We're not going to act on that right now because it might not be in your best interest. And we want to make sure that this process is absolutely fair, both to the applicant and to the public. So let me suggest we continue this for 2 weeks, and we look for our engineering and fire comments and see where we are when we get those.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
We'll do I'll do my best to get reviewed.
Yeah, I think that's what we got to do. So we'll entertain a motion to continue this item to the May 18th TRC, 8:30 a.m. in this location. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to make a comment or ask a question? Please.
Yes, Barbara Morano. I didn't see Melissa Ward here. I just want to find out, because I had some questions about the developers agreement. So there is an alternative, and then will it be heard at the next TRC meeting?
Developer agreement? No, ma'am.
Excuse me? No? When will the developer agreement be heard?
It will be a condition of approval of the major development. to be-
So in other words, it'll go to the planning, it'll go to the BCC without a developer's agreement?
I would expect, yes, ma'am.
What we're talking about is an alternative where there's no infrastructure agreements. The 163 agreement is primarily an infrastructure based agreement. If they're dealing with just the affordable housing component of the project, there are apparently an alternative of including a restrictive covenant that'll be recorded to accomplish the same use restrictions and affordable housing guidelines as a part of a recorded deed restriction as opposed to a separate 163 agreement.
Which is the developer's agreement?
That's correct. The
Okay.
developer's agreement has kind of gotten, it's a very specific term, and it's a 163 statutory-based agreement for an infrastructure sharing or infrastructure development activity. And so where we have those conditions placed into the regulatory side of the permit as specific conditions of the permit, it may not have to be a 163 agreement any longer.
Does this affect the developers' agreements that have already walked through the TRC, like Patterson and the Visions Church?
It depends on what the applicant wants to, how they want to handle it. This has been proposed by this particular applicant, the law firm representing the applicant, so.
Thank you. I want to say to the applicant, I'm glad it's not a rezoning. And I think we're looking forward to the 80-20 combination. I did notice, and Mr. Carpenter, if you can help me out on process, the applicant went to the Zoning Board of Adjustments first. Are we still, and it wasn't a rezoning, so is this the kind of procedure that we want going forward?
We're looking at revising the entire procedure, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so,
Make it more workable for everyone,
all right, okay.
and not nearly as cumbersome as it has been.
Because Stephen, again, he had a number of comments at the ZBA as well, and I'm sure they were addressed in this particular application going forward. I'm not sure. Okay, all right, thank you.
Ma'am. Anyone else have a question or comment about this particular application? Seeing none, we'll entertain the motion to continue to May 18th, TRC at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Can we have that motion at the dais?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed likewise. Hearing none, this item is continued to the May 18th TRC meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Thank you. And Tim, it looks like you got the next minor development, the Deering Center.
Yes, thank you. This is a minor development order application submitted by Anderson Engineering requesting approval to develop a 1,080 square foot commercial building and associated infrastructure on .14 acres with a future land use of industrial and extractive uses and a zoning category of light industrial. Project's located in District 1 on the south side of Highway 20 near the old landfill. So let me start out by saying the maps are incorrect. I failed to switch them out. This is not in Inlet Beach. This is on West 20. But they originally came in, when they originally came in, this was zoned rural residential, which didn't allow for the use that they were proposing. So they went through a rezoning land use change to industrial and extractive uses and light industrial, which was approved on July 22nd, 2021 via ordinance 2021-23. So with the new correct zoning in place, we move forward with this application. There's only a couple of remaining comments. However, the most substantive one is environmental's comment about a phase 1 environmental assessment that has not been provided to us yet. With that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, Brian Osborne with Anderson Engineering. Yeah, I mean, that's all we have left to do is the phase one, that we're working with Haley on that. Can the county require a phase one on that? They're not wanting to do that. We're a little bit confused as to exactly why the county wants that and what they're gonna do with that information. Again, working with Haley on that too, so.
Yeah, work with Haley on that.
Right.
I mean, we are right next to a large landfill,
Right, I mean, the phase one's gonna come back with the landfill as a wreck, but.
right next to a recycling center that's still pretty active. I don't know. I mean, it was recently changed to the present zoning in anticipation of this use. I don't see any concern about compatibility. If she's got a concern about an environmental aspect, we need to understand what that is. We'll take just a moment to see if we have any questions or comments from any member of our audience this morning. Anyone have a question about this particular application as proposed? Don't see anyone there. What other outstanding comments do we have? Now, according to her comment, it says the environmental assessment recommends a phase one. That's your document.
Biomes, and we've since had some conversations with Biome about that.
Well, and the nature of our comment is if your environmental assessment recommends it, we're absolutely going to agree with that. I mean, we'll fall on the side of the public on that. So, unless there's some reason to revise that, I mean, the comment is what it is. Do you have any questions about any of the other comments, or? And that looks like something that's easily resolved, or can be resolved. Anyone at TRC have any other questions about this particular application? You ever recommend a motion, Tim?
Yes, with only a couple outstanding comments remaining, I recommend we approve it and move it forward to the development order, contingent on those outstanding comments being resolved.
Thank you, sir. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion of the dais?
I moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Or now we have a second. Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is conditionally approved to move forward to development order, subject to satisfaction of standing comments as discussed. And if we can get the map updated in the staff report, so that's correct. And I think that concludes our agenda this morning. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 We stand adjourned.